I basically scan the entire market. I look at historical earnings. I'm looking at the past 2 years. Everything I have is configurable and can be tweaked, which is kind of maddening. But anyway, looking at the past 2 years, I generate basic statistics like hit, and I'm looking at the period after earnings for 3 days. So it's the 3 days after earnings. And I look at the number of times that, the stock gained. I look at profit factor, risk reward. If it gained, what's the average? If it lost, what's the average? And then I pre-screen everything, and out of like 4,000 stocks, I come up with about 440 that show edge or interesting patterns that are, look like could be good. And then I run that through back testing to go. I look at if the past 2 years would have predicted a trade. I actually go back from 2000 all the way now, and I look at each 2 year segment, and I look to see if it would have predicted or not, and I look to see if it actually did, did have a gain in that 3 day post earnings, just to check like the accuracy. So I use that to kind of further filter down the list. A couple I'm looking at for upcoming earnings. Capital One Finance, COF is the ticker. Um, Three solid moves in a row, each one up between 5 and 7%, 3 days after earnings. The stats are solid, the win rate's solid, the profit factor is strong. It seems like a pretty good setup. Another one I'm looking at is I never heard of them before. It's called Axon Enterprise. They make they're the company that makes tasers and other law enforcement
The old
equipment.
taser company.
Yeah. This one's had four big earnings moves in a row. It's gained like 15, 25, and even 27% after the more recent ones. Profit factor is strong, risk reward strong. So this one looks good. And then Ethan,
What's
I
the
know
ticker? What's the
it's
ticker?
AXON. And um, I've got all kinds of stuff under the hoods. Like I'm looking at sample periods before the earnings just to gauge if we were already in an uptrend. What's the detrended move? Like, did it actually really gain something, or was it just, doing well to begin with? I'm looking at like slopes between, points over the last year to see if we're trending up or down on the stats I look at, and then stuff like that. And then on the back tests, I look at Sharpe ratios and prediction accuracy and stuff like that. Um, Ethan, for you, I know you love quantum stuff. So there weren't any quantum companies that filtered in, but there was one called Lumentum Holdings. The ticker's LITE, LITE, and they make photonics technology that is basically, I think, used to help connect and intercommunicate between quantum, or could be used to help intercommunicate between quantum computers. Um, they're not as strong as Axon or Capital One Finance in terms of the analytics, but they are trending up. They are relatively low volatility around earnings, so I'm going to keep an eye on them and see what they do. But I had you in mind, Ethan, so I looked for one for you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Any, I mean,
Oh,
I'm
don't
happy to talk
know
more about
Light.
this and answer
Don't know
questions.
that one.
So
Can we look at Capital One? I'd like to see that again.
There's the. It's pulled back to a 20 MA in demand right now, but I don't. When's the earnings call?
Capital One is July 22nd after
Right.
market.
So there's a ways to go.
Yeah.
What was the last one's probably here or here?
Hang on a sec. I can tell you. Capital
Usually.
One's last was April 22nd.
Oh, okay. Oh, there. Okay. Yeah, I see.
And if anyone's interested, all this like the stats and the stuff I'm talking about, I have it in a bot that runs on a Discord server. So if anyone's it's free right now. So if anyone's interested in getting on and trying it out, you can drop me a line and I can send you a link and you can check it out.
I'd like to see it.
Big Bear. So they do AI. They've won a lot of contracts. They're on Mobus. They got the big Mobus contract with the government, which means they're going to get a lot of contracts, and it's real hard to get on that. Um, and they've been basing, and then they had news today, and they went up. right now I'm in at 4, and I had an alert set for 410 and it hit that today. Then I changed it to 420, it hit that. I changed that to 430, it hit that. And then I changed it to 440 and it had to go over it and it hit 440 on the ask. So I didn't sell. I sort of blew it because then the market suddenly tanked and the whole thing went back down. I was really pissed. They had news today because they bought part of their company bought the airport security where they scan your face um, and they know all about you and it's quickened the security. So they announced today they're in all the borders. So they
This
went,
is a nice chart.
yeah, so that's, and I think, I'm not sure if Zoe's in right now or not. Um,
This looks like Reddit yesterday. You know, it's a nice chart. It looks like it's set a low. It's got higher lows. It's got a higher high in there. It's not going anywhere. I mean, if you're interdaying it, maybe you get a move, but why not buy some and hold for 950, for a few
yeah.
months? This is a nice looking chart. If you've already got the breakout. It's just you pull back, you're in demand, you're
I
above the
bought it June,
200.
I bought it June 2nd at 404, and then I sold it at 434. And then I bought it back at 4.
Look at the weekly. This is a nice buy setup in support. I mean, it's jagged. It's jumpy. You can't make tight stops on this. But
Why is it you like it? I mean, what what are you seeing that you like about it that, and what direction do you think it's going to go?
up. Here's why I like it. I like it because it set a low right there, right? Then you went right back to the prior high. That sets the range. Then you pull back to a 200 MA and meet a rising 20 MA. That's the blue line, doing what I call a buy setup. That's a place to get into me. And then you get the higher high. So uptrend's confirmed at that point. You've got an uptrend. It's the beginnings of one, but you've got an uptrend in this. And then you pull back again, you hold the 20 MA, and you get a little peekaboo new high. Right now you're pulled back again to that same support area. It's stuttering a little bit, but it's holding, and it's in a nice uptrend, and it's got room above. There's not a bunch of supply above. There's a little bit right here at 6, but this thing looks like it can move back up. Now I don't know anything about it, and I usually like to know something about things before I long-term trade them. But this is just a nice chart. It's a brand new uptrend that just started, and the weekly. Here, let's look at the weekly. The weekly, I mean, it had a really hard fall, granted. I mean, that wasn't, it was a big rise and then a really ugly fall. But again, weekly set a low, uh, get my tool back, set that low, set a higher low, and now maybe is setting an even higher low, but same thing, you have a new uptrend there.
Gonna get to 5?
I didn't get to 10. It's going to go back here.
Really?
Well, in the long term. I mean, it might take 9 months. See, how long has it been? This high was that was just February. So yeah, I can definitely get to 6. I mean, I don't know. Don't make your plans based on what I'm saying. That you have your own trades. Trade them the way you trade them. But this is something I could buy and just hold.
You want to pull up SoundHound? That's the one that we're both in, right?
I'm in at 1027. And I think, John, are you still in at 1030? that we mentioned at the last meeting?
Yeah, I'm in two batches. I think I had a 10:30, and then I'm in again at 10:10 or something like that. I think I'm in like 10:20 average.
I see. So what do you all think of this? Again, they make, as I mentioned the last meeting, I'll just say it again for those who are new. They do voice activation. They're in Hyundai, so you're gonna be able to talk to your car to the dashboard and have an interaction. They're at all the hamburger places, White Castle. So when you order, you can go into depth, no mustard. You can go into real depth. They show them you can tell the software to turn on the TV, go to Netflix, watch a movie, stop the movie, order a pizza, go into all the details on the pizza, have it delivered, and go back to watching the movie. The best thing I recommend is to go watch their videos on their site. It's the future now. It's pretty cool stuff. Um, but I'd like to see them make up more of a profit. Um, that's one of those companies I wish I could get into since I do management consulting and find out, what's really going on there because they should be making huge dollars.
I think it's pretty good, but this latest action is a little worrisome. I mean, it hasn't broken anything, but this one personally, I wouldn't jump right into. But if it got back over that, it'll look good again. If it doesn't, if it holds this demand line, which it's right on right now. If it breaks below this, I think it might be in trouble. I mean, it set a low like that other one over here. It got the higher low, it got the higher high. It came back and then it had a nice pop, like through the prior highs. But this was a deep pullback that passed the 20 MA, the blue line. And then it did hold the 200, but I like stuff where they're above the 200 for going long. But still, to me, it's not in any trouble. But then you get the lower high, and then you get a new low or another equal low, and then you get another lower high. So it's consolidating into the prior lows. Well, it's also support. So if it holds here, it's great. But if it doesn't hold here, I'm a little more concerned.
When you say it's in trouble, Robert, I see opportunity.
Well, yeah, it is on support, and it's
Because
no argument.
I trade in both directions, long and short. So if it breaks below, that's a short trade, and that's opportunity.
Yeah, this one's hard to borrow, and it's one of these wacky companies. I'm not. Well, you could probably get shares, but it's hard to borrow on my system.
Oh, you're right. So you can't short it if it's hard to borrow.
And but
if it's hard to borrow, I question whether you would ever want to go long with it because what's the average 30-day average volume on it?
It does 27 mil a day, so it does plenty of volume. I wouldn't worry about that. I mean, it did 80 million these big up days.
I wonder why it's hard to borrow if it's that kind of volume.
Again, if it can come back up over this pivot here, it'll look fine again.
Well, what do you think about this 12 as like a overhead, like a resistance area? This is where I think this is Ethan's 12. That's your price target. I was holding it for longer than or bigger than 12, like 15 or higher. But what do you think? Because isn't this usually when you have a gap like in this area, isn't that turn into a what you call a like a resistance or what or something like that when it has a big gap like that?
Now let me expand my chart out a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have up here. Um, keep losing my, oh, it's a color thing now. I don't know what happened. Anyway, can't draw anymore, but up in this $13 area, you do have supply that will it's likely what caused that topping tail. It got right into it. So hopefully it takes another run at it and goes through. But I think it'll have some trouble with this this $13 to $16 area.
You know, I'm holding it for longer term. They're generating 150% growth in revenues. So by the end of the year, they should be generating positive cash flow. So you know, this is all my CFA training. Cash flow is what gives stocks value. So if they generate positive cash flow, they're going to have value. Because if you look at all the big tech stocks, the Metas and you know, the Google, they generate gobs and gobs of cash flow. That's what gives them the value. So that's what I'm holding for. I mean, I like to get the feedback on the technical stuff because I have also seen the breakdown below the 20-day, and I didn't know how serious that was, but it is barely hanging on, and potentially could dip below that.
ARQQ. Now, this is a quasi-quantum play. And my plan, you know, after all my research and studying and watching it every day, my plan was actually to buy it yesterday at the open. That was my plan. And it was already up $1.50 and I chickened out. And as you can see, just from yesterday, it really went up a lot. Um,
Yeah, it's heading right back into that prior topping tail.
yeah,
If it gets through that, well, I don't know. This is messy over on the left, but it's in a nice uptrend.
yeah.
I mean, the uptrends, except for those big topping tails, the uptrend's nice.
Well, the thing is, it's one of these companies that I have my doubts about. I don't really trust it. Um, but then on the other hand, today they had a PR where they joined the Oracle Defense Ecosystem, a first of its kind global initiative to redefine the delivery of defense and government technology innovation at the Oracle Defense Tech Summit taking place in Austin, Texas. And so the fact that Oracle invited them to join that group tells me they're legitimate. Um, you know, I mean, I know Oracle pretty well, having used their products over the years. I know them very well. And, you know, they wouldn't just invite them if they were like uh, you know, a nothing with nothing. I just don't trust them. I'm trying to remember if this is the one that had revenue of 77,000 or I don't know. I don't, maybe John Locke can take a look at their, Loud can take a look at their financials, but I don't trust them. But anyway, they trade pretty wild.
Yeah, they definitely trade wild.
Yeah. I mean, does anyone see anything on this that I'm missing or?
Well, higher low on the monthly. After a long base, you got the breakout off the bottom, which is usually bullish. Weekly also decent. Flat 200, I like them rising and a way far away from a 200, but that could be your target.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, this play, and that's why our meetings are so valuable. This play was brought up at one of our DC Day swing traders in November of 24. Someone who hasn't been back since then mentioned it. And I had not heard of it. And that's where I got this from. So I added it to my radar and I've been following it every day. And I've played it once and made a profit. I don't have to go back and find that.
I think
Okay.
Ethan, this is a pre-business. Like they don't. I mean, not pre-business. They don't actually generate sales. They may have contracts in place and they may have backlog and stuff, but their sales are like 240,000 or something last quarter. So they have a lot of they're not really generating revenues like regular revenues. They probably have something out on the horizon.
All right. Yeah, see, you're seeing what I saw. It's shaky, and yet look at their price compared to, like Rigetti or QBTS. I mean, or IONQ. Look at their price, and like they don't have a lot of revenue. I don't know.
I have no real opinion. I mean, daily's good, but a lot of junk to the left.